Welcome back. Ryan and Cars. Would you buy it again? Would you buy it again? I had my BMW and or would you buy another one? Maybe that's the right question. There we go. E-brake stuck. I had a car and it was lots of, high maintenance. I loved how it drove. And in a discussion with a friend, this question comes up all the time. When you talk to people about cars, this question comes up all the time. Would you buy another one? Would you buy it again? Actually, and if this is for everybody, I guess, for people who test drive cars, and because I did that for a while, where you test drive cars and you do write-ups on them, sort of thing. Would you buy one? Is at the end, I always ask myself that question. A lot of the cars, it would be no. There were a few cars that hit all the buttons, right? But I noticed that when I'm asked the question of a car that I own, that I have been driving or have driven, and tell a little story about it, the question comes up where somebody asks, would you buy it again? And you take a minute to think, right? Because here's the thing, you give a different answer for a car you owned or have owned than you would for a car that you test drive. Just a minute. You do. I do anyway, because it's different circumstances. See, with a car you own, you become invested in. Doesn't matter if it's a good car or a bad car, what other people say. When you go into the dealership or you go through the buying process, and through all the filtering you've got to do in order to say yes to a car that you have to buy or are going to buy, and then handing over money, you have to be emotionally invested in that vehicle for whatever reason. And then you have to pay for that vehicle. You have to get it registered. You have to get insurance for it. You have to take it to your mechanic and get something fixed on it. You have to put gas in it. You have to check the oil on it, right? You start to learn the little quirks for it. My point is that if you own a car and somebody asks, would you buy it again? Versus test driving a car and then somebody asking you, would you buy it? You're going to say more yeses to the cars that you've owned, right? Because it's partly a statement of yourself and your beliefs and your perspective on cars and things like that. Like, you will say whatever car is in front of you. Like, I owned a BMW, right? Everybody in the world will agree that it's like one of the most unreliable, most expensive cars to own, used, especially older ones, right? When they're not on payments. But I would say yes to that car again. I had a BMW 3 Series. I loved the transmission. I loved the setup. I loved everything about that car. The driving experience in that car was excellent, right? It also worked as a commuter. It also worked as a sports car. It did. It's the same thing with this Hornet. You know, thousands of people have gone out, looked at the Hornet because it was new, it was a new thing, and test drove them, looked at the price tag and said nope, and then they found out they're Hornet junk, kind of thing. Oh, we're all parking straight today. I'm not. And that's the thing. You have a bias towards the cars that you own versus cars that you test drive. Because when you go car shopping, right, you will test drive a million cars. Well, not a million, but you know what I mean. You'll test drive a lot of cars, and you will say no to all of them for whatever reason. Could be the color, could be the way the seat, could be the way the salesman smells, could be any number of things. However, once you are invested in a car, you choose it, you buy it, you go through the process of registering it, things like that, and then you have to explain to the world why you bought this car, why you made the decision to do this. And all your thought process is like, I made a good decision. Very rarely will you go, well, no, I made a bad decision. This one, no. You know, if you own a GM right now, you know what I'm talking about. Or if you own a Nissan Rogue with a CVT transmission that has gone wrong once or twice, you know what I'm talking about. I shouldn't have bought this car. I made a bad decision. But generally, all the cars that you buy are going to be a good decision. Doesn't matter what they are. Doesn't matter what everybody else says about the cars. It gets you from A to B. It does the job. It performs what it's supposed to do. 4 wheels and a steering wheel, right? Would you buy it again? You know, would I buy another Hornet? Yeah, I would. I'd buy another Hornet. These things are fun. Would I buy another BMW? Yes. Would I buy another Jag? Yes. Same year? Yes. They're rarer and rarer. You know, would I buy the 1984 Chevy Nova that was a Toyota Corolla clone? Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because that car was bulletproof and you could trash it. It was okay to trash. I got this thing. That's it for the talk today. Tell me what you think in the comments. Consider hitting the like button. Consider subscribing if you're new. I talk about cars on this channel. And I'll see you on the next one.